How's it going, everyone? It's K-Lumity here, and today we're going to be talking about a Super Nintendo game, and that game is Star Fox, the original Star Fox, and this game is a lot of fun. I love the original Star Fox game. I haven't played many Star Fox games. I've played this, and I have played Star Fox Adventures on the GameCube, and those are the only two Star Fox games I've ever played, but I do really enjoy this game quite a bit. I think it's a lot of fun. I like the arcadey feel of this game. It's an on-rail shoot-'em-up style game, and I really enjoy it. Graphically, it's not the best by today's standards, but it's still very much playable. I don't have any issues in terms of the way it plays or anything like that. You know, it has a little bit of a slower frame rate than what you get out of today's video games and stuff like that, but it's still very much playable. It's still very enjoyable. It's definitely going to be one of those games that I feel like if you are picking up a Super Nintendo, it's pretty much a must-own. You need to have Star Fox in your collection. And the nice thing about Star Fox is that it's one of the few Super Nintendo games that hasn't just gone ridiculous in terms of pricing. You know, there's a lot of Super Nintendo like first-party games that have just skyrocketed, but luckily this is one of the few that hasn't, and it actually it goes for a pretty fair price. Usually it goes from anywhere from $15, which is how much I got for, but I've seen it for also like 20 to 25. I've seen it for even $10 if you're willing to get something that has like some label damage on it or something like that. But it's not a very expensive game, and it's a lot of fun. It definitely is a must-own. So something cool about this game is that the difficulty system in this game is done a little bit differently. So the way the difficulty in this game works is by selecting a route. So most games obviously have, you know, the easy mode, normal mode, hard mode. This game doesn't have that. It has 3 different routes, and depending on which route you take, you can beat the game on any of the routes, but each one will be more difficult than the other. So Route 1 is the easiest, Route 2 is harder, Route 3 is the hardest, and each route also has a few different levels in it, which is pretty cool actually. And I feel like they actually reward you for playing on the higher difficulties because you actually get to see some cooler planets when you're playing on the other difficulties. Like there's one where you're like flying over water and stuff on medium difficulty, and I thought that was really cool. So they definitely, it's almost like they award you with just seeing some more interesting, you know, worlds and stuff if you play on the higher difficulties. That being said, the higher difficulties will kick your butt, and you'll have to get used to seeing the game over screen quite often. But still, I still think it's a lot of fun to play through it. I beat it on easy mode. I don't know if I'm going to be able to beat it on hard or normal mode. I've tried, but it's rough. Each route has a handful of stages that you play through, and in each stage, you basically are just playing as Fox McCloud in each one, and you have your, like, you know, squadron of pilots that you're also flying with. You have some teammates that you're with, and you have to kind of protect them as you're flying. So you're constantly shooting at enemies, but you're also trying to shoot enemies off of their tail whenever they're getting tailed by an enemy. You have to try to shoot those ones down too, so they don't take damage, because if your partner dies in the game, they actually don't come back. Like, I finished this game without Falco. Falco at some point died in my campaign, and when you beat the game, he's not back. He's still gone. I thought that was kind of dark for you know, this game like this, but you know, is what it is. But still, that's how this game works. You know, you're flying around, you're shooting enemy spaceships, you're also trying to protect your teammates while also flying around, and at the end of each level, there's a boss fight that you have to do, and the boss fights are pretty cool. I like the majority of them. Each one has a very unique feel to it, and definitely a unique look to each one as well. And the major thing you're looking for whenever you're doing the boss fights is you're looking at these like little bright, kind of like highlighted areas on the vehicle. And if you shoot at those highlighted areas, then you can destroy them and you can actually start doing damage to the vehicles. And some of these vehicles actually fall apart while you're shooting them too, which is pretty cool actually. But there's a lot of cool levels in this game, a lot of cool different areas to go to, and each level and each stage definitely feels different from each other, and that's pretty impressive actually, considering, you know, this game graphically isn't the best, you know, these days when you look at it, but it's still, each level still stands out on its own and still feels unique, so that's pretty cool actually. And I think that they definitely gave this game a lot of replay value by having, medium and hard difficulty be different levels completely. I mean, that definitely adds to the replay value, because I want to try to beat this game and beat it on the harder difficulty rather than just beating it on easy mode. So this is something that I'm going to go back to. I'm going to keep playing because I want to play it and beat it on those other modes. Even if I eventually have to, break down and use save states to beat the harder modes, like I want to do it just so I can see all the different levels and stuff, because the ones I've seen so far are so cool, and I want to see the rest of them. The hard mode's the hardest one for me to see the levels on. Like I've seen the majority of the ones on medium mode. I think I got to the second to last level on medium mode. I just need to try to get to further in the hard campaign, but man, this game's tough. It is tough, and you don't have a whole lot of lives. You have a few lives when you first start the game, and you can earn continues. So whenever you run out of lives, you can use a continue, and it will give you some lives back, and you're able to play from where you started again. But if you run out of all of those, then it's game over, and you have to restart completely. So yeah, it's rough, and this is not a easy game, I will say. Some of the higher difficulty levels too, they really get crazy with the obstacles on the levels. There'll be things that are spinning, these big columns and stuff that are spinning around in circles, and if you hit them, they do major damage to your vehicle. They usually do more damage to your vehicle than if you were to get shot by just one of the enemy pilots. So that's something to keep in mind. You got a lot more to dodge, so whenever you're starting to do medium and hard difficulty, keep in mind that it's probably best to play through easy mode first, or at least get really used to playing on the practice mode or something like that, because you got to get used to the controls so you can fly around a lot of these obstacles, because they throw a lot of obstacles at you on the harder difficulties. Overall, though, this is a must-own if you have a Super Nintendo. If you're a collector for Super Nintendo games, this is something that you need to have. It doesn't look fantastic by today's standards, but honestly, I still think it doesn't look terrible. I like the way it looks. It has its own little style to it. Definitely go check out Star Fox if you have a Super Nintendo. And even if you don't have a Super Nintendo, if you have a Nintendo Switch, you can also play Star Fox on the Nintendo Switch if you have the online subscription. If you have Nintendo Switch Online, you can play the Super Nintendo catalog, and they actually have Star Fox in the Super Nintendo catalog. At least last time I checked they did. So if you want to test this game out, maybe try playing it through there if you don't have a Super Nintendo, or maybe you have a Super Nintendo and you're looking, for games to collect, and you're trying to test out games before you go and buy them. That's a great way to test out the games that you want to own physically. So check out the games on the Super Nintendo catalog on Nintendo Switch. But thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you in the next video. You have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.